Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're going to do a paint review video. This paint is brand new to me. I've never tried it before. I happened to be at a local marketplace a couple weeks back and I always gravitate to the paint area and there they had a nice display of this paint. The paint I'm talking about today is called Bungalow 47. It actually is manufactured by the same company, Junk Gypsy, who also does paint. So this is new, have never tried it. It is a chalk/clay based paint. So we're gonna give it a go today. We're gonna use the same tools that I always use. We are going to use my Klingon F50 and my practice board. Now the only difference today is that my practice board is being recycled because of the recent coronavirus. We're all obviously trying to do the best to stay home and not be going out. So I have a lot of practice boards that I've used over the years. And so what I've gone ahead and done is this is a painted one already, and I've sanded it down and prepped the surface. So if you see that the color does look funny, it's not the typical white, it's because of that. So anyway, you can, and so that actually answers a question that I get asked a lot. Can you paint over paint different paints? Yes, you can. The key to that is what it was finished off with. So for instance, and I'm kind of going off topic here, but it is relative since I am recycling and reusing something that's been painted already. As long as it has not been waxed. If it's been waxed, you do definitely want to remove that wax because you will have adhesion issues. If it's been polyed, I would suggest sanding it before you go ahead and apply a different paint. And then also clean it. So you definitely can paint over a pre-painted surface. Switching brands, that's totally okay. You just have to make sure you know what was put on that surface last so that you know how to prep that for your next paint. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive in and get this paint down on the board. The color I chose was called Welcome Matte. It's a really pretty neutral, kind of a tan neutral color. I kind of gravitated towards this because I'm always in search of like the perfect neutral, not brown, not white, and so we'll see how this goes on. It kind of looks like a latte color. And the board we're working with was painted previously in a dark grayish black, so it's perfect because it's going to show up on camera really nice. So let's go ahead and get started and check out this paint. All right, you guys, so here's the color. It's a really pretty kind of, like I said, like a latte color. It's a really pretty neutral. Here's the board. As I mentioned, it was pre-painted already. I had no seal on it, so we're okay. I sanded it and cleaned it. We're ready to go. And then my normal Klingon F50. So today, you might notice I'm not wearing gloves because I'm trying to conserve my gloves since we're on a little bit of a shortage lately. So unless I'm staining, I'm not using my gloves right now because the paint is pretty easy cleanup. It does say to shake and stir well, which I have shaken, but let's go ahead and grab a stir stick here. And it seems pretty thick. I want to show you the consistency. That is a pretty thick consistency. It does say you can thin this if necessary. So there's two things that I do after stirring and shaking really well. If I feel like, oh, I might have issues putting this on because it's a little thick, then I grab my spray bottle, and I'll list this down below. This one is awesome. It's a mister, so I'm gonna show you guys on coat 2. Even if we don't need to do it, I wanna show you so that you can see how well that works. Ooh, that is a really pretty color. So I use this when I'm not only needing to maybe help my application, but when I'm blending different colors or things like that. So it's an awesome, it does not put big, huge water droplets all over your piece. It's just a real fine mist. I do start with a damp brush, which also helps. So like I said, this is a pretty thick consistency paint. That's really hanging on there. So we might need to do some magic with thinning. Normally what I notice is on the second coat is when I start to notice now that the piece will have something to grab onto after the first coat is on. Sometimes you'll notice a little bit of a challenge. Right now, I feel like this is laying down for as thick of a consistency as it is. I do feel like it's laying down pretty easily, and I'm actually able to work it quite a bit. I've got a couple little things that got in there. So I do like the way it feels. The application of it is not real difficult to work with. I have worked with paints in the past that sometimes first coat goes down and you're thinking, wow, how am I ever going to get that second coat on nice and smooth? And that's the key, is we want to get it on nice and smooth and have, you know, as minimal brush strokes as possible. And what doesn't help with brush strokes is, one, your tools, two, how you apply it. And what I mean by that is some of us can tend to have a heavy hand, and therefore we're pushing the paint, really pushing the paint in there, like maybe trying to get good coverage, and not realizing as we're doing that, we're really applying too much pressure, and then that will result in brush strokes. So that is actually really good coverage. As you know, we covered a dark board, so that is one coat. That's pretty good. I'm going to show you guys here. I'm a little messy, so I'm going to show you. That is our first coat of coverage. That is pretty darn good. I missed a couple spots, so I'm going to go ahead and hit those again. We're going to let this sit up. It does say 30 to 60 minutes for dry time. That's going to depend on several factors. Climate, which right now it's very dry, cool, but dry here. And also the size of this board. My assumption, and I'm going to watch the clock, but this is probably going to be about 30 minutes and it'll be dry because it's a very small section. So we're going to come back when that's done and apply our second coat. Yes, I have the cheaters because I'm going to read off of the label, which is tiny, so don't laugh. You might get there one day too if you're not already there. Okay, so while that's drying, I thought we would go ahead and just talk about a few things. So this is their color chart here that they have currently colors available. Looks like there's about 40 colors. And I want to tell you that if you don't have a retailer near you, yes, ordering online is an option. And you have to keep in mind that the colors may vary a little bit from what you see like on a color chart here or what you see online. A couple of things about this paint that we'll discuss, and that is I want to read to you a little bit about what it says on prep. So it says that prep, remove all dust and debris as usual. They say that, you know, you can sand it, you can use a vinegar water mix. There's a lot of different ways that people prep their furniture. I personally will scuff, sand, and then use crud cutter. It's just my preference, but there's all kinds of other ways to clean your pieces. That's just what I use. It works really well. It's never let me down. And it removes a lot of the grime and it kind of degreases. So they definitely want you to prep your piece. Then they say that the application, stir your paint thoroughly. And yes, I definitely recommend that because this is a very thick paint. At least this color. And again, that may vary. Different colors, depending on how they're formulated, will be thinner or thicker consistency. This one particularly is a little thick, and because it's a clay/chalk based paint, it's also, I noticed that those type of formulas tend to be a little thicker. You definitely can thin this, so keep that in mind that you can definitely thin this with water. There's two ways to do that. The spray bottle, which I'm going to show you on coat 2, or which you can apply directly to the piece, or you can actually add water to your paint. Now, if I'm gonna do that, what I normally will do is grab a bowl, a little Dixie bowl, and I kind of mix in my water, mix in my paint in that, and then work out of that. And then the other thing is the dry time. So their dry time says 30 to 60 minutes. However, that will change with your current climate. That's actually really fast. Most paint lines will put 2 hours as a minimum. So I'm kind of interested to see how that works. We're gonna wait about 30 minutes. I set my timer just to see where we're at and then go from there. So let's go ahead and get that second coat on because we're almost at that 30-minute mark, and then we will go from there and we'll do a recap and talk about the rest of the good things. All right, so I've got a shot here of two different, our current piece that we're working on and then this piece over here. The reason why I did this is because after the first coat dried, I want to show you really close and hopefully you guys can see that on camera. But it appears that there's like in certain areas, kind of like a ridge or a brush stroke, okay? This piece here, which is done with a similar paint, has none of that. And I'm personally not very happy with the way this looks. So if I was doing a piece of furniture to sell or for a client, I wouldn't be happy with the way this is finished. So there's a couple of things that you can do. You can use water, as I mentioned, to kind of ease that application. You can sand in between to erase a lot of that, and then try to capture with your second coat a smoother finish. Now, a lot of times people will say, well, it's just your technique. It's not. I use the same brush all the time with different formula paints, different brands, and I can tell you that I do not have brush strokes in my work. So keep in mind, a lot of times it has to do with the formula and the consistency and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this with some 320 grit sandpaper and prep it for our second coat. It did dry in about 35 minutes. And so yeah, we'll see how that comes out. And then we're also going to use my spray bottle on this segment too. Now we are, I mean, that is smooth like glass. So now we're ready for our second coat. What I'm going to do is spray with that water bottle, that mister that I talked about. And you can hear that it goes like a nice long mist. So I've gone ahead and sprayed our board. I'm applying my paint, and we're going to go for our second coat, and hopefully we will not get that similar look that I had on that first coat, because I just did not like that. Not comfortable at all. Now, obviously you're using a brush, so yeah, you know, is it expected that you're going to have maybe some brush strokes sometimes? Yes, that can happen. Like I said, it can be merely you got a little bit of a heavy hand. Maybe you got too much product on there. Maybe it's just a thick consistency. Maybe lots of things can play into it that day. So, okay, I do like how that applied with the water. Misting it really helped that glide, and I'm happy with the way that that went on. So I'm going to go ahead very lightly and go one direction. That's the other thing you can do. If you're finding that you're looking like you're not happy with that finish, go one direction. Do not sweep back and forth. That can create that look as well. I did that on the first coat because that's typically my technique. I don't normally have to worry about using that one direction stroke. So for me, this was just kind of a learning curve working with this paint. So we're going to go ahead and let this second coat dry, and then we'll go ahead and recap, and we'll talk about the product and what I think of it. All right, you guys, that is it. We're at the end of the video. I'm going to go ahead and show you the finished practice board here in just a moment. What I want to say before I show you is I'm extremely happy with the way the finish came out after the second coat being applied with our water and also sanding in between coats, which they do recommend that. So I'm going to say I recommend that. Keep in mind, all of my videos that you watch are definitely my opinion and my experience. You can have a completely different one, and that is okay. I do this to share with you guys, as well as finding out for myself new paints and if I like them. So this is it. This is the finished board. I'm going to show you up close so you can really take a peek. It looks really good, and it's really super smooth. So my recommendation, if you're going to use this paint or try this paint, definitely have some sandpaper on hand, fine grit sandpaper. I will list down below everything I used, and then also a spray bottle. And I want to show you guys, this is it in its entirety. This is a cool, and you see how nicely that mists. It's a very cool water bottle. I got it off Amazon. I will also put that information in the show notes down below. A couple of things about the paint. They do come in different sizes. I had the small size right here. This, I believe I paid $13.95 for. I will flash down on the screen what the larger size goes for because I don't know, but I'm going to go ahead and put that on screen for you guys. So it does come in two different sizes. I think you can get a lot out of this project. A little goes a long way. The coverage on this was really, really good. That would be my #1 comment that was super positive. Love the coverage on this. You guys saw after I put on one coat that it was really, really covered very well. And we went over a dark board so you could see if I had any peek through. So I was really impressed with the coverage. The consistency is very thick. So I definitely would say either thin it or have a spray bottle on hand to make your application easier and have a prettier finish. The price point is pretty competitive. The dry time is faster than some that I work with. Now, again, that is going to depend on your climate and how big of a piece we are working with. I always like to tell you guys, painting a piece of furniture over a practice board is incredibly different. I do it for consistency reasons in my review videos to make sure I use the same tools. Therefore, if I don't like anything, I know it's going to be the product. It's not going to be the tools that are changing up and could possibly have an effect on the way I like a paint. So that's why I keep everything the same. Now, what I also do is if I like a paint after a review and I want to go ahead and give it a chance on a piece of furniture, I try something small in my shop and see how I like it, because working with a 12-inch practice board is definitely different than working with an entire piece of furniture. So I do like it. I wasn't sure at first, and I'm going to be honest. After that first coat, I thought, nope, don't like it, not for me. But I'm going to give it a chance and try. I have a small piece that I have in mind. I will let you guys know how that goes. If you don't follow me on social media, definitely do. That way you guys can get updates when I say I'm going to update. I don't do a whole nother video, but I do put it on my social media, so you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram. So anyway, all in all, I would say it is a good chalk style paint. I prefer to use chalk style paints for blending. They blend out really nice and they sand. This sanded very, very nice. It sanded all of those rough edges, any stuff that flew in there, sanded down very, very nice, like glass. It was really good. So I'm definitely going to try this again on a piece of furniture. I will keep you guys posted on how that goes. Thank you so much for watching today. Thank you for being subscribers. Keep subscribing so you can get all of my videos in the future, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Oh, and if you have any positive comments or questions, please put them down below. I do enjoy reading them and will always make sure I get back to you if you have a question. Thanks again, you guys. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, and adding to my recap, because I totally skimmed over this, it does need to be sealed. So keep that in mind. You have to seal this paint, because what's going to happen otherwise is you're going to have scuffs or scratches. The paint can even come off. So I definitely recommend sealing with your choice of top coat, whether that be wax, a varnish, a polyacrylic. There are definitely different choices out there. So make sure that you do understand when you do use this paint, it does have to be sealed. All right, so I want you guys to see this so close. I couldn't zoom in close enough before, but as you can see, that finish is absolutely perfect. After sanding it and using our water, it came out fabulous.